It was a quiet Saturday evening. Me, my sister, and our cousin were lounging around the basement having one of our usual cousin nights. The kind of hangout where everyone's technically together but doing their own thing. I was on the beanbag scrolling through TikTok and Discord, trying not to doom scroll. My sister Julie was curled up on the couch, sketching anime characters in her notebook. Our cousin Mark sat on the floor with his back against the wall, headphones in, probably watching another one of those true crime breakdowns he was obsessed with. The old TV we never used much was on, volume low, tuned into a local channel airing reruns of sitcoms from the early 2000s. Nobody was really watching until it cut to black for a second and then something else came on. It started with a jingle, way too upbeat, like one of those retro toy commercials, but warped. The sound was cheerful, but the voice that came next was anything but. Sick of dull kitchen tools that waste your time and energy. Say hello to precision. The voice had a deep, unnatural rumble, like someone speaking through broken speakers. We all looked up, the same confused expression passing between us. The screen showed people, maybe people, hard to tell, wearing blank porcelain masks, struggling to cut bread, meat, fruit. Their movements were jerky, stiff. Each wore gloves and the same tan apron. There was no music now, just the slicing sounds and occasional static. A man walked into frame. He was tall, with an off-brand cheerfulness that didn't match the rest of the scene. He wore a pale yellow dress shirt tucked into slacks and a mask too, except his looked more like a puppet's face, frozen in a plastic smile. Allow me to introduce the perfect cutting companions, the Strix set. He held up two blades, one curved like a sickle, the other jagged like a bread knife but bigger. Then the camera panned right. 6 kneeling figures, hooded, bound. Julie dropped her pencil. Mark yanked off his headphones. I felt like the room had dropped in temperature. The host stood behind the first victim and pulled off the hood. It was Eric Castillo. He sat next to me in algebra. He was always cracking jokes that didn't quite land, but he was kind. Helped me with homework more than once. His mouth was taped shut, tears smeared across his face. I grabbed the remote, hitting buttons like mad. The input wouldn't change. Mark tried unplugging the TV. Still, the video played. "This fine serrated edge," the man said, waving the jagged knife, "can even cut through guilt." He leaned down next to Eric, blade brushing his neck. A number flashed on screen. "Call now. 30 seconds left." Julie gasped, covering her mouth. Mark looked at me, then at the countdown. 29, 28, 27. No one called. When it hit 0, the man only said, "Demo time." Eric's scream was muffled. The knife wasn't fast, it was slow, deliberate. I turned my head, but the sounds, wet, ragged, human, stayed with me. When I looked again, the floor beneath Eric was dark red, and he was still. Julie sobbed. Mark just stared at the TV like he was trying to will it to be fake. The next bag came off. Vanessa Price, president of the debate team. She was fierce, brilliant, barely blinked when she spoke. But here her face was wet with snot and fear, eyes darting in every direction. This model comes with a reinforced spine for extra stability, the host said, pressing a cleaver to her collarbone. Another timer. 25 seconds. We said nothing. We did nothing. And the cleaver came down. Mark turned and puked into a trash can. I couldn't feel my hands. One by one, the host moved down the line. Next was Jonah Collins, the kid who always sat alone in the cafeteria. He wrote poetry on his arms in Sharpie. We never talked, but I read over his shoulder once. It was about how the moon reminded him of his mother. He looked numb, hollow, like he'd already died inside. Another countdown, another call that never came. The knife that got him looked more like a surgical tool. The host sliced from ear to ear like it was routine. Julie screamed. I could barely move. Next was Grace Nolan. She was in choir, and she used to sing before school in the hallway. Her voice always made people stop and listen. Now she was gagged, struggling against her binds. "Last call," the host shouted, holding up a set of matching steak knives. "Buy in the next 10 seconds or miss your chance." I grabbed my phone. I didn't even think. Just tapped the number on screen and hit dial. "Don't," Julie cried. "What are you doing?" Mark reached for the phone, but I pulled away. The screen froze. The host tilted his head. "Congratulations to our next caller," he said, then paused. "We're coming." Click. The line went dead. The screen turned black. Nothing else happened for a long time. We sat there, staring at the dark TV, waiting for something. Anything. Outside, it was silent. No sirens, no cars, nothing. I don't know what happened to the others. I don't know what happens next. But if you see anything about the Strix set, don't call, don't even watch. Just get out while you still can.